Welcome to the Cradle of Sins Alpha Cup. My name's Caleb Eubanks, otherwise known as Reality Check VR, and I will be hosting this year's VR tournament that has a prize pool of $10,000. Today we will be playing the upcoming multiplayer VR game, Cradle of Sins. Although this game is not playable for everyone yet, the development team wanted to spend some of their time creating a tournament to help give back and reward the people who actually spent their time giving feedback to the rounds. So here we are for the Alpha tournament of Cradle of Sins, and it's going to be very exciting. Now, what is Cradle of Sins, you ask? Well, Cradle of Sins is a competitive multiplayer game. It is a strategy-focused, first-person MOBA game developed exclusively for VR. People can choose between different characters. Each character has different abilities that, of course, take a long time to understand how those abilities interact with each other, and sometimes how they can be used together on a team or on opposing forces. Each character has different weapons, different abilities, so the player will have to figure out exactly which combinations go together to allow them to have total domination on the field. The game is played with two teams of 3 players each, and each player's job is to keep their altar safe on their base. And of course, at the same time, they want to destroy the altar of the other team's base. Now, this can get a little bit tricky because there's multiple paths. So not only that, there's an entire jungle that you can go to get yourself more experience and even a little extra cash. As soon as you destroy your opponent's altar, in the game. But it's not going to be easy. There are going to be a lot of minions and towers along the way. If you're familiar with other large MOBA games, this game is not going to disappoint you. You'll find many familiarities from each of them.
Today's fighters are the top 6 around the world who had the best 8 scores during qualifiers. And trust me, those top 8 scores really show that these competitors are ready to fight. Without a doubt, today's matches are going to be extremely interesting. Each team only needs to come home with 3 victories to bring home that $3,500.
We're very excited about today's tournament with competitors coming from all around the world, as we said before, from Russia, USA, Czech, and even Scotland. The other top 40 players who didn't qualify for the finals also went home with a combined prize pool of $5,000. Thanks, devs. In case you're wondering, I'm hosting this here from the Voyager VR Arcade here in Sao Paulo, Brazil. We do all kinds of tournaments and everything, and this place has been around for just about 2 years, which also happens to be about as much time that's gone into Cradle of Sins already. The game is just now being released, but there's been many years of development and thought process and time put into this game. So you know the developers are not only serious, but they're determined to make sure to create the best game that they possibly can for their players. And of course, know that VR esports is going to be huge for them. Considering that we had over $1 billion spent on the esports industry last year, we're sure to have VR esports become a bigger and bigger thing in the years to come. And of course, because of those big MOBA games like League of Legends and Smite, we're going to see VR have this exact same kind of a following. It might take some time, but we're sure to have it. And this, of course, is just the beginning. And just in case you're wondering, Cradle of Sins is supposed to be released on not only the Oculus Quest and the Oculus Rift, but even PlayStation VR and Steam VR. So you're going to be able to play this game on all of your favorite platforms.
Years of development, and now we're here at the studio with the Alpha Cup Grand Final. Cradle of Sins, that's the topic of today. I'm actually one of the casters. My name is Rene Chirana Butler, and with me in this studio is the one and only, the Wikipedia of all kind of MOBA games in the entire world. Can tell you that, it's Envision.
Yeah, it's been a fun run throughout the Alpha, and I've invested a lot of time into it. As you said, I kind of know my stuff when it comes to it, so I've got a lot of good strategies and thoughts about these players and how they're gonna kind of follow through on this grand final.
I hope so, because that's what I expect from you, right? That's what we got all year long. We know each other from previous tournaments already, which is always good when diving into something new. Talking about something new, this is the first grand final. We heard it. We saw it on the graphics already. It is the big esports question that we try to answer every year. Is it Europe better than NA? Is NA better than Europe? Obviously, we're both from Europe, so kind of biased, maybe, but we'll figure when it comes to a VR MOBA for the first time, Cradle of Sins, there is a prize pool of $5,000, euros, whatever. Dollars?
Yes.
But what if I want euros?
Then you're out of luck, man.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. It's $3,500 for the winner and $1,500 for second place. We're doing a best of 5 of it. So before we dive into competitive side of Cradle of Sins, we heard it already in the introduction. It's a young game. It's not even released yet, but there's already a big community playing, testing, and helping to move VR MOBA forward. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there has been a lot of good people around the Discord community. They've invested a lot of time into it. Some even more than me. But they've been a fun bunch. I mean, VR MOBA presents its own fun, kind of unique style of gameplay, and I kind of expected that, or experienced that firsthand when I played 1v1 against Lemon. You know, he 360'd and dabbed on my Nexus, which just doesn't happen in other MOBAs. It's one of those things that you can't really experience anywhere else besides that VR kind of landscape. And of course, the other community members as well, they've put in a lot of good hours. As we said, top 6 are in the grand finals, but there's many more that were below that top 6. Of course, top 40 got the money. So there's been a lot of players investing a lot of time into the game, and it's definitely been a huge showing of the community and coming through and kind of providing the feedback even to developers about how the game should feel.
Cradle of Sins obviously adds another layer to, let's say, normal mode. It's not just what I click on and the hotkeys I'm doing, it's also the movement I do, which leads to even more of my brain lag. So I'm definitely not one of the competitive players. I can tell you that will never happen. But it makes it harder, but it also makes it more engaging, right? You said all the freedom that comes to the play because you actually use VR. Tell us a bit about the experience of actually being on the battlefield.
It's definitely different from other MOBAs, and I've invested a lot of times across the board to every MOBA basically there is out there. So I kind of have my own opinions, and VR MOBA, it's just so different. The fact that when you sprint, you have to move your hands and you have to be really physical in there, and then you have to, you know, auto-attack and swinging your hand. It definitely can get crazy, and it's definitely a very good workout for the people that are playing, and it's also loads of fun. It can provide so much freedom in terms of how you approach a certain fight, what way you want to go about taking a fight. The fact that you're in VR means that you're going to have that narrow field of view, which you don't really have in, for example, top-down or third-person MOBAs. You have a kind of wider perspective there. So first-person definitely provides that unique experience where you have to look around. You have to be aware of your surroundings and come out on top.
Even though there are a lot of new things with Cradle of Sins, there are also some that we can refer to as classic nowadays when it comes to MOBA. We got 2 lines. We got 2 lanes. We got a jungle, obviously. We heard that already. Get some additional cash and to get some more experience, move on, obviously ganking players. Do you feel at home right when you jump into Cradle of Sins?
As a MOBA player, I would say yes, there are some that you have to consider from other MOBAs and the kind of classical MOBA type of feel, which, as you said, the towers, the lanes, the jungle, that kind of all comes in. You kind of have to, you know, learn maybe the pathing of the jungle, maybe a little bit of how towers operate, because there is the fact that there's crystals around. To take the crystals out before you can actually attack the tower. All that kind of stuff comes into its own, but then there's the fact that there's no traditional leveling, so you have to buy weapon in order to level your character up, which presents a kind of different feel to the MOBA genre, and it's definitely a unique take on what MOBA could be.
And we'll be addressing if we see some new strategies, because this game is so young and all the players basically evolve with the Alpha Cup. They play to be here. There might be some new strategies up their sleeves that they can show tonight in the grand final, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of unexplored areas in the game for sure. I even myself had a couple of ideas throughout the Alpha Cup what to bring.
And then they didn't work, that's why you
They didn't work. I wasn't good enough to execute them. Oh, sad times. But anyway, there were a couple of interesting strategies, and I myself think that, well, I didn't reveal all of them. So if the players have invested the time to test stuff out, to look at the map and kind of figure out the layout, kind of how the gameplay should flow, then I think these players they would have found out those strategies that I had in mind, because majority of them were just looking at the map, kind of timing yourself. So for example, first couple of jungle camps, you can do them fast with 3 people, and you can still get the lane before creeps start battling. So there's extra gold, extra experience, and when you take those 2 jungle camps, you also get a little bit extra gold, which you can then use to buy items. That 250 gold, also the time kind of ticking, so you get a little bit of a passive gold gain there. You can get 1 item basically before the minions even clash, and that for somebody like Kira who relies on the wall to stun. Well, at least in Alpha Cup, you did rely on getting that wall which stuns people for 5 seconds, because then when you drop the hammer, that person's just sticking there. He's just standing there. He can't move. So it's an easy hammer, and majority of the time resulted in a kill.
That's it. 101 with Envision, how to actually get 3,500. Here, it's done. Just write it down. Make sure that you play like that. But I'm pretty sure that our players know what they're doing.
No, but you can't really take my experience, because I did get dabbed on my Nexus. So I don't know if there's anybody else in the community that can claim that title of losing a game against a 360 dab.
We never know, right? So much stuff to happen. Also, so much stuff to happen today in this actual cup, because we will not only show the games, we will also show you a quick look at the community. We will have interviews with the players, so you will get to know the guys behind the headset, basically. So it's not just us in front of camera. There will also be more action around, and in the end, there will be this nice trophy, because this is not shopping TV. We're not selling this one. You actually have to win it.
This is not a commercial. So it's very shiny. It's a very good looking trophy, man.
It is. But you can't have it.
Yeah, I didn't reach top 6, you know, once again. If I only would have played Edward, man, like Garth did.
Story of your life.
That dude has like million games of Edward by now, I'm pretty sure. Like even when he sleeps, he's playing Edward.
Best way of practicing, right? Making sure that you also use every single hour available on the day. You know, like train 24 hours and then maybe sleep 2. That can work on some of the games, I actually know that. We got some other segments coming up, and one of them is actually the community talk.
Yeah, that will definitely be definitely the community has been interesting. As I said, throughout the Alpha Cup, we've had kind of developing strategies. We've seen new faces, especially throughout the ending of the Alpha Cup. It was slow to go because Alpha Cup, in the beginning, it was the fact that you could only play 10 games, out of which the 8 top games did go to your kind of count towards the cup qualifiers, but then graciously enough, the developers opened up the floodgates, so to say, and everybody could play as much as they want, and the 8 top games did get counted. So a lot of new faces came throughout the Alpha Cup. A lot of people invested a lot of time into the game, and the experience that they've gotten throughout this is definitely a fun one. As I said, we've had so many funny moments throughout the Community Cup in itself, strategies developing through and through. I mean, it was just a blast throughout the Alpha Cup how much different strategies you saw. Because in the beginning, nobody played Kyra. And then Joe played it against me. And I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting character because you can stun. And then I tried her as well. And then suddenly everybody was playing Kyra because you could stun with the wall and then you could drop a hammer. And it was very good. Basically, you could one-shot a level 1 dude. Well, somebody who hadn't bought health at that point, because the hammer deals like 700 damage, and you only have like 800 health. So you stun somebody, you auto-attack them, drop the hammer, and it was just basically done for them, at least in the early game. And that was just like one of the strategies that we had developed throughout the Alpha Cup. We had Helena massively played in the beginning. And it was definitely interesting to see her as well. But in the end, Kyra just dominated Helena in terms of that interaction there.
So if you need all that tips, obviously Discord is the best place to be. And we know that one of the guys that you should be familiar with if you're on that Discord is Lemonfloss. If you're not, then we actually got a video to introduce him.
Now that you are enlightened about this new VR MOBA coming out, I'm going to run you through some of the controls to make you a better player at the game. Now, if you are a man or woman of the blade, Edward is the character for you. With this tutorial, you will learn the basic art of sausage swinging and how to use your special abilities. Each character has 4 special abilities. Here is how you use these abilities. How to unlock your abilities is simple. Every time you purchase a weapon of higher power, an ability will become available. These abilities do have a cooldown timer located here.
Now I'm going to run you through how to cast every single ability that you have at hand. You're going to pull the trigger, extend your hand away from your body, and release. This will add damage to your next attack. It only works for your melee attack. To use this ability, you will press A on your Oculus Rift controller. This is very good for when you have a lot of enemies around you. Alright, to cast this one, you extend your arm out and lift up. This will summon minions to help you. They do not last for a long time, but it is good for taking towers. For your final ability, you will extend your arm out, pull the trigger, and point down. This will drop an invisible bear trap that will deal bleeding damage to enemies.
That is all for today. I will see you on Cradle Island soon. Check back next week where I go into depth with Hexa. Until then, gamers, stay flossy.
Lemon Floss with a quick introduction on Edward and how to cast his abilities. I hope that the players know that. They should, because otherwise they haven't made it here. Right?
Garsh knows. He's played billion games with Edward. He can do that stuff in his sleep. I'm pretty sure he practices it in his sleep with the controller.
If there's someone in the community already like giving knowledge to others, right? Because if you come new into the game and you don't have anyone to ask, right? Sometimes it can be kind of overloaded, right? There's so much stuff to experience, and you said already you calculated everything in terms of the gold and all that. I would sit at home like,
This is cool ability.
that would be me. You know, it's like stabbing people. Yes.
What is this word I have? You can hit people with it.
That's how we do. That's fine. It's a play style, man.
This is how a majority of the strategies in Alpha was discovered. You just hit random things, hope something happens.
And it worked. People made it here. That is the important part. But let's also have a quick look at the actual players that will play tonight here in the grand final. 6 in total. They are 3 from NA, 3 from Europe. A mixed team, basically. They're not like they're established organizations or established teams. They're coming here together and be mixed according to their continent. And it will be interesting if they can actually create that team synergy to take the grand final.
And now it's time to go over the contestants of today's finals. First up, we have Rexar CZ from Czech. Since childhood, Rexar was always trying for new technologies. He tried VR in an arcade room and instantly fell in love with the concept. After doing research, he finally bought his own VR headset. Rexar grew up a competitive desktop gamer, but the idea of competitive VR gaming has really attracted his attention. In his words, "I feel very excited to be in the finals of Cradle of Sins, and I'm looking forward to the top-level games against the best players and finalists." Well said. Joe Aha from USA. Joe Aha went to a local game park and saw that they had VR. He had low expectations but figured he'd give it a try because it was free. The first thing they did was boot him into Robo Recall, where he instantly fell in love with it. In his words, "It feels great to make it to the finals. I put a lot of time and practice into this game, and I know that other finalists did too." No doubt, it takes a lot of time and practice to do these games well, especially if you want to compete at a high level. TF Garsh from the USA. Garsh got the Oculus development kit when it first came out and was amazed he did not use it much as he had an underpowered PC and there was little content available. A little over, he was able to build a VR-capable PC that would generate a more realistic VR feel. That is also when he purchased the Rift and really got into VR competitively. And I quote, "For being a finalist, it feels great. I obviously didn't expect to get much out of this tournament. When I first learned about it, not many people were on. I thought they'd make it in."
Axis Moon from Scotland. Axis Moon got into VR when his dad brought him home an HTC Vive. He was hooked from the first moment he put it on. He first got into Pavlov, where he found a competitive scene and hasn't stopped competing yet. Quote, "I'm excited to compete in the finals because I find competition fun, and since the ESL Leicester, there hasn't been any paid finals." Well, no doubt, there is not a lot of paid VR finals just yet, but we already know the way that the world is working, we're going to have a lot more of these tournaments in the future to look forward to. Crazier Rex from Russia. Crazier Rex is a 33-year-old from the city of Cherepovets. His first VR experience was in 2018 in a hypermarket on a virtual reality attraction. It was a roller coaster. His hobby is sim racing, and he decided to try VR on virtual roads at home, but like many people, he encountered the problem of motion sickness during elevation changes on virtual roads. After 2 weeks, the elevation differences didn't bother him anymore. In his brain, he was completely free of motion sickness. He is glad that this technology has come into the world. Quote, while browsing the news on the internet, I saw the VR tournament for Cradle of Sins. This is something new for me. And with racing, you always have to sit in the cockpit driving thousands of kilometers. Cradle of Sins is completely different. It's moving while standing over a certain area. The adaptation did not take much time because everything was quite simple, and the most difficult thing was adapting to the characteristics of the characters to yourself to find out all the strengths and weaknesses for each of them during the matches. I am very pleased to participate in this tournament and look forward to the development of the game and the elimination of all the bugs. I'm right there with you, man. I'm sure that the developers feel exactly the same way. Pesky Cashew from the United States. Pesky Cashew got into VR on a whim about 2 years ago. After a brief adventure through the familiar Beat Saber and Rec Room territory, he also became a big fan of Archangel Hellfire. The small tournaments there got him started down a long road of competitive play within VR. He has since gone around the world from California to the UK, participating in events where VR is on display, or local arcade events to ESP majors, or for even the VR leagues. Quote, I'm always seeking out the next opportunity for VR competitions. Cradle of Sins brought an uncommonly large prize pool that certainly piqued my interest, and I'm stoked to have made it to the finals, more so to be back with my former Beat Saber team member Garsh. In what looks like to be a fun European versus American showdown, we certainly won't be pulling any punches. And that's right. Good attitude to see that you're in the fight, of course, and I can't wait to see you guys perform in the finals upcoming.
So there you have it. We're moments away from getting into the tournament, and I mean, you have to realize there's so much time and effort trying to learn different strategies in this game, and as you play and learn and compete against new people, you're always unlocking new pathways inside the game. So I'm just props to everybody who took the time to make it here, and of course all the other 40 different finalists who didn't qualify here for this game. Props to you for putting in the time and effort. We certainly do appreciate everything that you do. So without further ado, let's get started.
Our 6 players obviously unlocked the first achievement already, which is the achievement of making it to the grand final, being here part of the show, and going up for the first big matchup that we'll see in Cradle of Sins. I have to say, I got my favorite already. I mean, there's a sim racer in it. I'm coming from that side, so obviously I'm absolutely rooting for him and the European team.
Has nothing to do with the European team?
No, not at all.
Okay, okay.
I mean, I'm fine with NA as well.
Just making sure.
Yeah, I mean, I like NA. They're not as good as Europe in games, but
well, we'll see. By the end of the 5-match series today, we'll know.
Internet
exactly.
will hit me like Kara's hammer. Right after that comment.
700 damage.
Doesn't really matter. But we're getting ready and underway with match number 1. Obviously, it is a best of 5, so it's not enough to just win the first one. You know, Astoria Alta going home with all the money. Nope, you need to do that a bit more often, at least 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, if Alpha Cup is an indication, the games tend to be rather fast. Maybe at the most 15 minutes, 20 I'd presume. So
well, that's 15 minutes of running around. Keep that in mind.
It's a great workout, you know? Get your heart pumping.
Or people in my age just fall over, right? No, that's totally fine. And it is, I like that layer that will be added to these games, because now you need to, like I said, you need to point at the right thing, click the right thing, and then also move the right body muscle to get all of that done. I once hit my head when I tried to lay down in another VR game. It was quite funny because my girlfriend absolutely loved that scene. She saw it. That was the worst part of it, probably, that people saw it. But that's what happens with VR, right? It is a new way of playing and enjoying your favorite style of games. So I'm looking forward to our first matchup.
Yeah, it's. I mean, both of these teams very strong. Again, coming down to the U versus NA matchup, both of them have something to prove. On top of earning themselves a little bit of that extra money. I mean, it's no small amount of money.
Yeah, just a bit.
So, tiny increase, as you can see on your screen right now. It's quite the big jump, and I believe both of these teams will do their absolute best, bring out the best strategies. If they have practiced something, I'd really hope to see something kind of new and interesting in terms of strategies, at least in this grand final.
Right, match 1 is ready, locked and loaded, so let's dive right into it. All right, these are the 6 players that will actually launch into our grand final, Alpha Cup grand final, the first ever. And we saw already in the introduction video, they all got their own little story, how they got into VR and esports in general. But still, all that experience won't help them in the beginning, because it's a new game. It's a new world, right?
Yeah, definitely. When you come into the finals as well, stuff usually comes to change, right? The strategies that these teams have prepared for themselves. It's definitely a wild west here, so to say, and we're definitely going to see who of these teams has practiced more, who's come out on top in terms of strategical thinking.
You already said that you probably know which character they will pick because they all have their favorites. We heard already there's one player that's playing Helena only, which is kind of risky. We know that in a MOBA if you're so predictable. Do you think that has an impact, especially since we go in over 5 matches as a best of 5?
I think definitely strategy aspect, when it comes down to it, might have an impact. But again, you have to consider there's a lot of people that have played a kind of singular style of gameplay in terms of characters. As I said before, Garsh is a phenomenal player in Edward. That's because he's practiced so much Edward on his time on the game. And same can be said for that Helena. Yes, nobody was extensively using Helena in those early kind of... Well, in early she was used, but later on, when Kira came into play, Helena wasn't that effectively used. So, but again, the skill never goes away, right? So he can still be very effective on that character.
I really want to know if we see like a change of the entire team composition, in case one team starts to lose, right? Like if you're 2-0 down, you might reconsider your choice, right? Because you need to do something that the opponent might not see coming, right? You want to be surprising. You want to make sure that you get them onto thinking and not being in their usual playstyle and going with the flow and just win a third one.
Yeah. Definitely that comes into play when you think about it. If you can rattle the enemy a little bit, bring them out of their comfort zone, that can definitely have a huge impact on how they play, how they want to strategize, maybe move across the map, maybe stop them from rotating as much, stop these kind of kills from going away. Then suddenly it becomes very hard to try to push these towers down, and teams like these who have made it to grand finals, they definitely have the knowledge of how the game's played, so it can definitely come into effect.
Will both teams feature a usual jungler, or do you think there's more like a mixed role in it?
I think it will be interesting to see that, because currently, as the Alpha Cup has progressed throughout the qualifiers, we didn't see a dedicated jungler. Of course, Crazy Rex comes to mind because he usually does go into that jungle role early on, goes for the jungle item, and then starts to go a little bit jungle rolling early on until he gets 1, maybe 2 items. Usually stops with 1. It will be interesting to see, but I don't think we're going to see a dedicated jungler. Maybe teams will go as a team into the jungle to take a couple of camps and then rotate into the lanes.
Currently, when we look at the meta, how important do you think it is to be quick in terms of bringing the entire team in? We know that normally there's a phase in the game where you start to go for team fights instead of picking a 1v1, where you don't really want to go alone into a fight because there will be ultis used, right? They all got upgraded weapons already. When do you expect that to happen?
I believe they are going to go into that kind of style of gameplay once we reach the later end of the game. Once you do have the 2 towers down on 1 lane, you can start pushing the Nexus. That's when I believe we're going to see those team play come into effect, because until that point, you want to rotate across the map, potentially get a kill or 2, and then go push these towers.
So any predictions before we dive into match number 1?
It's really hard to call. I'm gonna go with Team NA. I know there's a lot of good guys on there that have practiced their characters a lot, and I believe they might come out on top.
I'm not sure. I mean, the European team has a sim racer. They know what it means to grind for hours to get something done. So I see Team Europe winning, which is in this case red, right? We got yellow, that's Team NA. Red will be Team Europe. When going into match number 1. Hopefully that never changes the colors, because otherwise I will be completely confused.
Smoke coming out of you.
Yeah, it's like that's too much. 2 colors, 2 teams, it's already very confusing. No, it will be good. But as we said, this is the first grand final. We don't know what will happen. We don't know if anyone still has an idea. As you said already, there's something that you found in the game when playing yourself, and you're not sure if that's common knowledge already or a strategy that people use. And there might be some stuff you didn't thought about. I know it's very unlikely because you're basically a computer and you calculate the entire thing, but there could be, right?
Yeah, there definitely could be strategies that these teams have thought out that I didn't necessarily think they would be that effective or that good to use.
We'll see if that actually comes into play later on or across this best of 5. That obviously means one of the teams needs to get 3 wins, or we go into an entire top 5, a best of 5 matchup, which can actually drain some Some confluence, I wanted to say. That is a completely wrong word. I obviously wanted to say concentration, which I'm losing already, but we're ready for game number 1. With that, we'll finally see will it be Team Europe or Team NA getting away with the first win of the Alpha Cup Grand Final here. All right, ready to go. We're actually in the match already, which means you and Vision need to get an overview first of who picked what, right?
Well, I'll definitely give that once we get the overview of stuff happening, but currently it does seem like the Team NA, we had Garsh on that Edward there going through, and Joe is actually on Helena, Pesky on Hexa, so definitely interesting strategies. I would have expected a little bit more Kyra there.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love Kyra just for the banhammer, right? That's how I call it. I absolutely love it how it comes down and just crashes people. We see the first camps being taken here. So we got on the left, just so everyone got an overview, Team Ret, that's obviously Europe. So we got Rexa on Kyra, and then Observer went away, and I totally got lost there.
Yeah, it's kind of mesmerizing once you look at the kind of inside view of the game. It's definitely a different feel to your regular MOBA feel. But Team EU, they did pick up Kyra, and we did have Crazy Rex on that Helena, as I was saying, kind of off stream here. Crazy Rex, he's practiced that character so much. He's so good at that specific character, and it's definitely, for me, it's no surprise he's going with his best character.
Hopefully that pays out for him. We saw the first defense basically on the European tower. That was a Ret tower that we had just in view. Now we're jumping back into... Is that Garsh? Just thinking about it. Is it?
No, I don't. I think that would be Axis, if I'm not mistaken.
Scottish player from Team Europe. So that's also Ret. He's down to 335 already. So there was quite some damage that he took early on in the match. There's a Hexa right on the other side.
Yeah, it's a Hexoth battle going on.
Mirror match.
With Hexoth, it's incredibly difficult. We see a couple of auto attacks landing here, but with Hexoth, the Chain Lightning, once it bounces off of one of the minions, the second bounce range is pretty good, so you can poke very heavily with that character.
And able to actually push minions away from the tower once again here. The first little skirmish is still... The Hexoth still going at each other. It's interesting. 121, so that's actually pretty low. Get into trouble there, but minions now helping out.
Yeah,
get pushed.
Does look like he's going to be going for that 600 gold. He's not too far off of it. You could basically get 2 items with that. You could get an upgrade on staff and basically pick up level 2 movement speed. That's going to help you out immensely.
In the beginning, obviously, you want to build up your setup. You want to get the upper hand over your opponent here. Once again, the minions pushing into the NA tower. Oh, there was Atwood to the right. If we saw it correctly, helping out with the minions.
Yeah, there's Garsh. There's no mistake in this game. There's only one Edward.
That's
it's Garsh.
So we solved that issue already with just having one Atwood. That makes it a bit easier. That was the wall from Kira, so I'm just waiting for the hammer.
The hammer did connect, actually, taking a lot of damage there. Usually I would have liked to see that stun land first, so you would have a certain hammer, but I think you go for a little bit of a riskier strategy, and he did connect, so they're going to be forcing the NA players off of the lane for a second.
Yeah, obviously the wall was there to get the stun out, then you have an easy target, right? Can't move away, and then you drop the hammer on it. But unfortunately, it didn't really work. There was still a lot of damage done. So you're right, they will probably have to go back and leave the tower a bit. We see it here, there's absolutely no one here. That's the top lane right now. Now we jumped over to bottom lane, right in between both sides.
Oh, there's the freeze coming through. That's a pretty good one.
Just looking at that, it's once again the Hexoth against each other, basically. The mirror match that we saw before here, right in front of our NA tower. But not really able to get a lot of damage done, though. Kind of left the minions alone. That was fun. The minions were fighting in the background, and these guys were just going at each other.
Yeah, we already see level 2 staff coming through from Axis Mundi, so has that Protect Sphere. It does stop the ranged auto attacks from flying as fast. It slows them out immensely, so it does help in protecting yourself, especially if you're taking these fights, and we saw Axis use it instantly, and once he got that level 2 staff, go for that fight. I'm thinking to go for a little bit of riskier strategy, because now if Garsh does gank, he doesn't have that freeze.
Crazy and Rex are trying to push top lane once again.
Tell me if you win.
The NA tower there. That's what we're basically on board with right now.
Lasering me a bit.
So this is This is the NA Hexoth. You forget Pesky. That's who's on that Hexoth. Make no mistake. Pesky's a very good Hexoth. I believe Axis had immense success in the Alpha Cup throughout the qualifications. He played Hexoth almost exclusively, had a very interesting build. Saw a lot of success with that character.
He's been getting some damage done onto the NA tower here. So that means Pesky has to defend once again. That was the mirror match, obviously, against Axis on the other side for the European team. Not yet getting involved from top lane, though. So the both Axis just having the bottom lane all themselves. While we see the Banhammer once again going down. Some damage done, though. We see Crazy up drop below 50% already. That's a huge hit.
Garsh did go down in that engagement. Garsh went a little too aggressive, didn't notice Rexar coming in from behind, and the hammer just, it rains down damage. It's insane how much it nukes.
It really helped out because obviously with Crazy dropping below 50%, that would have been a bit dangerous, like missing the hammer and then being so low as well. But Rexar made sure that his hammer hit. That was important. We see Helena moving forward. That's Crazy or Rex right now trying to push the minions towards the NA tower here on top. We'll probably see Garsh and Joe getting involved. No, that's Joe for now. No, it isn't. It's Garsh, yeah.
It's Edward.
It is Garsh. I'm sorry, that was my mistake.
No worries, but finally we do see a couple of crystals going down, so you see crystals around the towers. You have to take those down before you can actually start damaging the towers. So in European side, we haven't lost any crystals yet from what I can see. On the NA side, we've lost one. It's not a huge loss, but still, if you can chunk away those towers little by little, sooner or later, that tower is going to be vulnerable and you can take that down.
Gosh, try to push against a bit. But now he got Crazy Rex on the other side, and I also think that... Is that Rexa coming back in as well? It is! There's the stun. Didn't really help though, look at that. Garsh made it back to the towers, now on the tower waiting, trying to just get some damage done, but that's a very aggressive move. The hammer once again coming down, and it's actually a kill for the European team here against NA.
Yeah, Rexar with the very good gank, and now we do have Helena going head-to-head. But still, Kira coming out on top in that engagement. Seems like the tower is going to be vulnerable for a little second here, as they did have Joe rotating in from the bottom. But Joe, for whatever reason, he did go into the bottom, tried to gank Axis there, found no success in that bottom side of the map, and then that just opened up the side for Garsh to be kind of pushed down the tower.
Yeah, it was an aggressive move, but it worked out well, as you said already, Joe. Kind of took the wrong approach to get into this fight. And with that, he lost one of his teammate, and a bit of damage was done to the top tower of NA here, of Team Yellow. Once again, they will basically build up new Crazy Rex there with Rexar still on top lane. I'm not sure if we still got the Timura going on bottom, but we see that. I mean, Garsh is still top. He's still there. He's
Elena's coming in as well, so Joe is rotating in, and we can see the tower push happening. Kyra is staying a little farther back because, as I said, that wall has a little bit of distance. You can't just place it anywhere. It is a fixed distance, so as long as you're waiting.
Oh, there's the stun. The hammer will go down once again. That should be an easy one here for Europe. Is Garsh?
He's alive. He's alive.
How did he make out at that?
And Kyra
unbelievable.
Is low.
I was stunned myself by that. I was pretty sure that will be the next kill, but instead, who got killed there?
Kyra got killed, so Rexar did go down in the aftermath there, as the tower push is going to be coming through, so they're going to give the chase.
Yeah, look at that. Atwood and Helena really pushing now for the NA team. They chasing them down till home, basically. He's like, show me where you live. A bit like a stalker, basically, trying to follow through.
One of the good things about a VR MOBA is you can have these situations happen. We saw Crazy Rex just running left, right, and just trying to juke, and then the guy running behind him is trying to hit the shots, and you have to really aim those shots. So in the end, Joe didn't get the kill. Crazy was able to juke out with the terrain, but still a lot of good, these like little interactions between characters. Definitely interesting in terms of that VR aspect of MOBA.
He made it back to his tower safely. That was the important part. We saw there that was Axis trying to recall back home, and on the other side we obviously got Pesky here on Haxov. Having a look at the tower, at least we see the crystals are... Is that damage, right? You see that the color is fading away. It's basically the damage that these crystals take. But there's the push now. Oh, look at that! Axis is actually going in hard now.
double freeze
managed.
happen, and the protect sphere coming out of Axis mode as well. It's looking like Pesky, either he hasn't backdoor, he hasn't bought a weapon, because currently it did look like he had the level 1 staff, which means you don't have that protect sphere, the kind of sphere that goes around you, which stops the kind of auto attacks from coming or raining through, so to say. And it does look like Axis does actually have the level 3 staff now, so that's going to provide a lot of DPS and also provide that tackling.
There's obviously a 1k lead already by Europe in terms of gold. We see that on top half of your screen. While Kyra goes back once again.
They did get a kill onto Garsh, so that's a lot of extra gold. Well, I say a lot, but it's around 300, and there's a gold difference. We already see 1.2k. That's almost, that is a full damage item ahead for one character.
Yeah, the kill feed basically tells us a lot already. It's 5-1 right now, and I'm not really getting into this game right now. And we saw that part of that was the strong Kyra play that we see on top lane, but also here Axis has everything under control on the bottom lane. Once again, he tries to push Pesky back to the tower, maybe get some damage done there. The tower is vulnerable, that's for sure. He just needs his minions to help out and get that down.
So that little interaction where you had both of the minions kind of running at each other, and both of the characters chain lightning at the same time, so they kind of just split off both of them.
And there goes the first tower, it seems. Yeah, that is the yellow tower, and A loses one on top lane. Obviously 7-1 the difference in kills right now, and also the gold difference is coming close to 2k now for Europe. We see Garsh is trying to push a bit though. That's the Edward there in the fight with Kyra.
Kirill has to run here. Crazy Rex, my apologies there. Crazy Rex has to run. He's juking very well.
Oh, that was the hammer once again, but nope, it didn't work. Edward's still alive. Garsh is still in there.
Finally.
And he tries to get the kill. They got one. They got
Kyra down. They got Kyra down, yeah.
The Kyra had to be on the losing end of this battle. And once again, it was Garsh now that got the second kill for the NA team, and they're still pushing. Look at that. Look at how angry and eager they are to get on that scoreboard with another kill, to get some gold out of that.
They need to push one of these towers down. Towers are the important pinnacle of Cradle of Sins. We did see a little bit of a kill happening there on the bottom side of the map. Pesky did lose a 1 versus 1 up against Axis, and if you kind of this snowball is so hard to stop. If you don't have a Kyra up against that Hexoth, as Axis now going to backdoor the tower, it's no problem there.
Yeah, it's not just the Kyra anymore, let's be honest here. Axis, like I said before, really dominating on the bottom lane against Pesky. He got the right stuff already in his hands to make everything happen, basically. There is Garsh with Atwood. He was at least having a look at bottom lane, but not really going for it, not daring to actually face Axis down there.
So with Garsh, actually we do have a fight up top.
Where is he?
Helena is chasing down Kyra there.
Yeah, that's Joe now. He gets chased down there by Kyra and the opposing Helena, but they couldn't get no stun coming out of that wall. So Joe lives for another day at least, or maybe another minute.
In the jungle, we have Hexoth going at each other again.
4k lead by now, 9-2. That's the kill count. So Europe right now dominating this first round, even though Garsh tries his best to get at least one tower down for NA, but everyone now onto him. That won't be easy.
Actually, that's the second tower, isn't it?
Is it that?
Yeah,
it's
the second
they
tower.
lost one already, true.
That changes a whole lot. They have to guard that second tower, because as soon as that goes down, you can go for the base. And we've seen throughout the Alpha Cup, the backdoor strategy is very strong now. We did have a change onto the Nexus now, which shoots projectiles instead of that Guardian, or somebody said in their stream, rip chunk kind of happening there. So nowadays it is a little harder to backdoor, but then again, you can have this sort of stuff happen where we see just Kyra going at it with the added defenses of Juggernaut.
That was Rexa, but I think Crazy Rex also came in. On top, that is once again the opposing. Elena just feeling like, no, I'll get involved here. I try to stop them. They obviously don't want to lose the second tower. You said that is very important for the actual progression here onto the enemy Nexus. While they're once again having a quick look at the creeps in the jungle. Maybe we can pick up some gold or experience there.
And they have to deal with this Axis sooner rather than later. They can go on to the top as much as they want, but at one point, Axis will get...
Oh, both against that. Axis might goes down here from the tower. He will not survive that one. I think he absolutely overlooked Pesky. He was kind of hiding on top there. Around the tower, and then Axis stepped around, tried to get onto the tower, got stunned under the tower with all the damage done to him, and then in the end, he did not survive that one.
Cool story with what you can do in VR, what you can't do in other MOBAs. You can hide behind a tower.
Yeah, that's
you
it.
can literally go behind a tower, you can stand there, and when you hear the enemy coming, you go in.
If
and
VR
bam.
would be that fun, actually they make sure that the character has the same figure as I do. I could hide behind everything. It could be a small tree, whatever. I could hide behind those planks on the ground. Look at them. I could hide behind them. That's how cool VR is.
Darcy's fighting up against Rexar and Crazy Rex again.
Yeah, but that will be a chase. Yeah, there's no chance. There's a stun coming out. And all the damage. Ooh, Hextop gets the wolf from the other side. Pesky trying to get for the rescue in there. Crazy Rex, he's low and getting killed here. So NA finally picking up some... Oh, look at that. NA finally picking up some kills. Also, that hammer really helped out for the side of Europe. 14-5 now on the kill count.
So Kyra not opting to chase out Hexoff there. They did trade 2 for 2, I believe. Actually, scratch that. I believe Axis did survive that fight as well. So they got 3 of NA Town without any opposition, basically.
No, they lost
Crazy Rex. Yeah.
Crazy
but
Rex
now they
died.
can go for that tower, which we already see Axis doing.
Yeah, that's Rexar with Kyra. He's trying to get involved there, but once again, it's Garsh defending there. There's the silence coming out. We're trying to get away. There's no support for him right now. No one helping out. Both players are...
The rotation, though, from behind now.
Yeah, they're trying. They have to. Look at that. That was great. Coming into that fight from the back here, trying to help out Garsh with taking down... Yeah, Axis is down, and I think they also lost Rexar there.
Yeah.
So that's another 2 kills to add on the board for NA here.
Yeah, NA doing a very good job at comeback, but now they do need to take down the tower. They have actually had to tower down, so that's the backdoor strategy that I was talking about in Alpha Cup.
Oh, they're going right for the Nexus here, but they obviously need to get rid of those crystals. We talked about that before, and the Nexus also shoots back now. So there is some damage going out there. Once again, dropping their Reddit hammer, basically. And that is the Nexus. They'll take it. Wow, that 14-8 we're talking about, basically.
So in here we saw what happened is EU lost 2 players. It was so late in the game that they couldn't really do anything, because if you die in this game, you don't go into a magical realm. You're just going to be movement speed slowed. So what happens is the later you get into the game, the longer the slow kind of lasts when you die. And those 2 EU players, they just couldn't get out of the base. And it was 2 of the most crucial players. If Helena would have gone down there, it would have been not a huge big deal. But both Kyra and Hexoth went down, so Rexar and Axis both went down. That was a huge deal breaker, because Hexoth can solo defend basically the core, and Kyra has a stun on her as well that can stop the players from just running around the core.
I feel it was Europe just trying to use their advantage a bit too hard that moment, because they could have took this longer, right? They had everything under control. They had the gold lead. They had the kill lead. They had all the items they needed, right? But they pushed a bit too hard, chasing too crazy, trying to get the first match actually to finish right on point, and that opened the door, as you said, for NA to just do that backdoor, because 2 players were missing, and that cost them the win in the end.
So the build-up kind of to that was, they won a fight, right? It was a good fight. They got 3 people down. But I think they went a little too greedy with the backdoor. We had Axis instantly run in there with Hexoth trying to take the tower down. Did a lot of good damage, but at that point, they should have just run back. There's no way you're going to be teleporting back when you know enemies coming up. They will have that movement speed eventually, and if you miss your chance of backing away, you're going to lose your life. And if your second tower is down, this is what's going to happen. This has happened throughout the Alpha Cup, where we had the backdoor strategy. It was aptly named so because the majority of the time, when you lost your second tower, there was little to nothing you can do. The game was basically lost. Now with the Nexus shooting back, you have a little bit of a fighting chance, but it's still going to be...
You still need a defense force,
Yeah.
right? It's not doing the job for you. If you're not stepping up to defend your core, then there's no chance to actually take that match. But now after the first, let's call it skirmish, that was the first match out of our best of 5. Do you think they will adjust already? Because it looked like if I would be manager of Team Europe, right, I would be quite happy with their laning phase. They played well. Axis was having bottom under control. The top team, they did some nice pushes against that tower. It took them a bit longer, I think, than it was needed for the first tower.
Yeah.
Due to the control they had, but they all looked like having the game under control. So is there much they could change now before going into the match 2?
Yeah, there's an interesting strategy that I developed when I played up against Garsh. Throughout the Alpha Cup, is Edward usually gets countered by stuns. So having somebody that can stun, like Hexoth, up against him will mean that Garsh will not have an easy lane like he did. He can't go for the towers, he can't go for the dives, because that will result in the freeze, that will result in Hexoth dealing massive amounts of damage. He just can't do it. And I played in Alpha Cup, I always rotated against Garsh as I was playing Hexoth. I think Europe, they were good with their picks. They were dominating the lanes. It was going good for them. We saw the gold lead in their favor, the kill lead in their favor. Everything was in their favor. The only problem was Garsh got those 2 towers up top. So maybe rotating Axis into that top side of the map up against Garsh, that might prove to be successful strategy.
I mean, he was having the mirror match under control at bottom, so we'll see. If it was that, if he just really likes to play against Haxorf because he wants that mirror match, or if he's open to actually go up against Garsh and Edward on top lane.
Yeah, the thing is, if I'd be in the European side, you would rotate Kyra in up against that Hexoth. Of course, Kyra won't have the kill potential very early on. You need that first upgrade in level to have the wall available. That's when you have the stun. You can pick up one of these bombs from the shop that you can activate. And it will be an interesting strategy. You can wall up, you can hammer, and then you can bomb them. Or there's a multitude of ways you can play up against the Hexoth. If you manage to get that wall up, Kyra is kind of a counter to Hexoth. It's not a silver bullet. There's no silver lining to Hexoth. Hexoth is a very strong character. But Kyra, at least I was finding success with Kyra up against Hexoth. So maybe rotating Kyra up against Hexoth and then rotating Hexoth up against Garsh on that Edward would be a kind of a feasible strategy.
Yeah, still some possibilities, that's for sure, because Europe looked good in our first match, but we'll see if they actually take our advice here from the desk and change that for match number 2 that we'll see in a bit.
Could you keep a better eye on your turret?
Shut the fuck up, announcer dude. I'm working here.
The law! Oh wait, 360 dab! Oh!
For me. Okay, what's up? One hit. Gotcha.
Killing spree.
Killing spree.
Nice.
What you know about dying?
Your team destroyed the turret.
See you later, buddy. What you know about speed boots? Sucks stuff.
Alright.
Jeez. Do you think Joe would like to join a game?
Joe.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Oh, Joe.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna ask.
I was like, as soon as I stepped into that bucket, I knew that I stepped in.
Kill their big guy. I hit him with a poison arrow.
Yeah, like you get more the more kills you have and the more like
The more score
gold
you
you
get.
have and everything, yeah, the more score you get.
I killed the
So,
Edward.
so if
Say
you
that
guys are
again?
gonna finish, then
Ooh, that Hexath got me
Respawn
though.
slowdown increased.
Oh, I think Shrek just like ran up and smacked him in the face though. After he killed me.
I'm going after it, so that's hey, no, no!
Bye bye.
what? What?
I turn around and I just see the wizard like rushing me.
Alright, is that you, Cupper Rage?
Yes, you scared.
Yeah, you scared me too.
Oh, the smoke. Oh no.
Smoke's going to the jungle.
Oh, my guys seem to be attacking some green thing. This is good. They're doing something.
They're doing something.
Oh, I think I shot one of mine. Shouldn't have done that. Okay, cool. Yes. Charge my minions.
Your turret needs needs attention.
I don't know which one a turret is. Oh, that's a turret.
Destroy small crystals first.
On your left hand on the map.
Cool.
Depends on what you have. What headset do you have?
I'm on Rift right now.
From the smash hit game Cradle of Sins. Actually, technically, not out yet. Can't be a smash hit. All that liquid there? That's fucking sweat. I'm the first person to cosplay it. That's true, I think. I got it on Chinese New Year. Lights. You can't see it in the sunlight. I live in Australia and it's winter, but oh my god, even in winter in Australia, you should not wear. Fuck me, why did I do this? I can't. Do it.
I'm not full auto. It's not full auto. That's not full auto. This is.
Didn't mean to do that. Just do solo play. Felt a cat just climb up my leg there.
Are you ready?
Right, so that actually looks good. That's actually very nice. Okay.
This is very dizzy. I don't play a lot of VR. It doesn't do anything when I smack. Okay. No! How do I save myself?
All right, Europe is trailing right now with that. Envision is actually leading because you predicted NA. But there's more matches actually on the table. And I'm absolutely sure that Europe will come back. I root for them. They can do it, I'm sure. So here's match 2. Will it be the European comeback, or can NA strike once again here and go 2-0 in this series? We'll find out in just a bit. Once again, we see a quick jungle here done by NA. The Hexorov and Hexoff and Helena is back in the jungle, picking up the first golden experience.
So this is kind of the strategy that I had in mind as well, which I tested a couple of the guys in the Alpha Cup. You can do the first 2 camps so quickly and you don't lose too much health. If you give them to one guy, he can basically get almost a full item. But they're going to go even a step further, at least in the NA side. Looks like EU is doing the exact same thing.
Both teams with a similar start this time. We saw at Axis, he was dominating bottom lane. There was Crazy Rex and Rexa go up against Garsh and Joe on top lane. Let's see if they actually try to get away from this mirror match of Hacksoft bottom. It doesn't look like that. I think we will see the same mirror match once again. Yep, so it is Pasky on the right now and Axis left. Both will try to get, establish a dominance basically on a bottom lane. Oh, they're the first shots going at Pasky already. He's kind of on his way back to the tower, which leaves top lane once again to Edward and Helena on top for an A, and obviously Kyra and Helena on the other side as well for Europe.
They're wizards. They're both wizards. Damn. They're very good at magic though.
I love that. That's why we have you as an expert, because you know they're pretty good at magic.
I know my stuff. Don't worry about it. We've got this covered.
Yeah, that's very important.
But interestingly enough, I would have expected Rexa to go back after the first few jungle camps. It doesn't look like that's the case currently. Until I actually see Rexa, I don't really know what weapon he has, since the kind of new icons are even new for me. So, but he does have a D-wall there.
Oh, he's all first wall and hammer going down already. It seems like Garsh is in a lot of trouble, yeah, and gets taken down. He's first blood basically here. It's once again Europe leading in the kill count, but we saw that on the previous match. All of that doesn't really help you if you kind of miss that backdoor, if you lost the second tower.
So I've figured out exactly the NA strategy. They're doing the tactical feed strategy. If you've ever played solo queue game in any MOBA, you just feed the enemy, give them false confidence, and then you smack them and take the game.
Once again, that was the second kill already for Europe here, right at the, that's bottom tower. No, that's top tower, I'm sorry. No, it is. It's bottom tower.
So, yeah,
I was so confused seeing all that water. It was bottom tower, so that was the Hacks of Mirror match there. Axis with another kill.
Yeah, it's a very good start once again for Hexos. I really expect them to switch at one point or another. As I said, Kira can do well up against Hexos, and considering the fact that Axis is doing so well in lane, he can go up against Garsh very easily. Actually, Garsh is in bottom right now.
Yeah, I think they switched already because I saw Hexos just walking into the lane for an A. Yeah, there we go. He's with Helena now on top.
Oh, they're both there.
Rexa and Rex trying to push them back.
Is that going to be the bottom tower so quickly on? That's 3 minutes in. At least couple of the crystals gone.
That would be crazy. Look at that. They got Atwood around. Now Axis tries to fight back a bit. There's the lock on from the tower, obviously, on Pesky. But Pesky gets away. Atwood's still pushing. Gar's going for it, but now he got through right under the tower. Oh, that won't be easy for him to get out of. Nope, he's not even getting out. He's dying right there.
Kira coming in as well in the aftermath, but that's what I was talking about in like after game 1 is Garsh isn't doing so well if you go on actually hammer combo, that's the power, man. But Garsh doesn't do so well up against Hexa because Garsh plays Edward, and that one freeze will absolutely dismantle your mobility, which you need as Edward.
That's another tower being taken down here. So an A lost one. 4-1 currently the kill count, so European team leading on that again. Oh, it is 2k gold lead already. So that is way earlier than last match when they reached the 2k gold lead. So they're doing quite well right now. Garsh once again in a bit of trouble here, being chased down. I think that is by Crazier.
Yeah, Crazier.
Correctly, yep. They're both trying to get a bit of hits done, but not much happening.
The ultimate coming through from Crazy as well. Garsh still. That fight's still ongoing. They are really going at it.
Yeah, Garsh is doing well right now. Joe, he's trying to face Rexa here. That's Kyra once again getting the stun. There's the silence. No hammer though, but kill was done nevertheless. So that's up to 6 already. Kyra really playing to her strength right now on top in the hands of Rexa here.
Yeah, you can't really underestimate how long the wall stun is, as we saw right there. You don't even need the hammer, you just wall stun, that's 5 seconds of pure DPS that you can go next to them and just auto-attack them continuously, and that deals more than enough damage.
And that was obviously the start basically on them losing another tower, so they took bottom, they took top now, and up by 5 kills.
Double
in a
the gold.
3k gold league already.
It's double the gold, so he's doing very well at accumulating gold here.
Yeah, but they obviously need to stay safe this time, because they saw it on match number 1 how they lost that. They had the lead, they were dominating the entire match. Couldn't bring that to an end here. So we see that is actually Axis switching up to top and trying to help out there a bit. They obviously need to defend their tower as well. They don't want to go to the second and then lose the second like last match. They had to get going.
Pesky was late to the fight, so he's just now stuck around the jungle. He can't really do too much up against this 3-man push.
Oh, all 3-man push now. Top tower. There's no one right now on an A side to defend that. Where's Pesky? Where's Garsh? Joe missing.
Gone. Almost. Yeah, it's gonna be gone.
That's it. They're way too late. That is Pesky now coming in. That took a while. The stun was good, so the tower is helping out a bit. And they actually get a kill out there. So going up to 2. That was last second save there on the tower level 2.
Yeah, the thing is, this time around, NA doesn't have the tier 2 killed, so they can't really just go for a back door anymore. They still have to wait and fight EU on other ends. They need to get a couple of these towers down, otherwise this game's gonna broke really hard for...
But that was a 3-man push, and A still managed to defend the tower and even get a kill off of that. Now they're obviously pushing on the other side. They want to take the European tower here. Kira in a bit of trouble. There's Atwood right next to her, and with that, Garsh is doing a good job, but he gets locked on from the tower. No additional damage done by the European team though, so he will get away for sure. There's the stun now coming. That is Helena. She will go down there right below the European tower. So that was one step too far into the tower and got penalized right away.
Yeah, and they need to do these sort of plays. They need to find something in this map right now. They're not really getting anything. So throwing one body at the tower like that, I don't think that's going to hurt them too much in terms of what EU can take, because EU really cannot push heavily right now.
Nice. Axis now looking at level 2 tower, but Garsh is still there.
Oh, that's the attack link as well, so counter stun coming through from Hexoff and another stun.
Oh, that's a good combination. Yeah, that was well done there. And once again, they take one. Up to 10 now. 3 for the NA side. Atwood on the way back. Yeah, Garsh has to hide under the tower, but the tower doesn't have much health left, so they will just push once again in there. He's still alive though, but they lose the tower. Yeah. Garsh got away.
This is going to be very hard.
He's not getting away. Spoke a bit too soon there. Both teams losing 1. Did they? No, it was 11 for Europe now.
Yeah, they both did lose 1. This just after kind of clashes happening. But it's looking right at sky. Oh, the stun!
Yeah, with the hammer combination coming down there, bringing all that damage for Kira. Yeah, that's another kill for the European squad right now. They're doing well. They got the level 2 tower on top. They will probably look if they can use bottom a bit to push into that to get NA distracted here.
So this is what I don't understand, is why NA is not running Kyra. Kyra is such a strong character. The 5-second stun.
Oh, there's a stun coming onto Helena. That is not looking good for Cho. It's been taken down here. I think there was Axis getting in there. Yep. Axis picking up another one for Europe. And that was, you see how quick it is now. Like there was one wrong step basically. Axis was in a good position. The stun came out there and all the damage done. Easy, another kill.
The thing with Hexot as well, I've seen Axis run this build multiple times. I don't know exactly what he's running right now, but I would imagine movement speed, double movement speed, what he's done before.
Oh, Europe is onto the Nexus of NA here. Can they actually lay down all the damage they need? There's a small skirmish going on. They try to defend. Obviously, NA in a way better position than Europe was last time because there was no one to defend. Pesky's still around. He tries to lay damage, but he has 3 targets everywhere. Kyra now moving, and Kyra will get a lot of damage onto the Nexus. Not much to stop her. There's the camera coming down right next to the Nexus. It will look like Europe could actually take map number 2 here, but Kyra, she might get stopped in the last second here right at the Nexus. Everyone, Helena's coming in, Joe stopping her. That's it. They managed to save that Nexus.
The minions! What are they doing?
They're chilling out.
No, the minions are going to end if they don't defend.
Oh, they managed. All right, that was a good start here, match 2. Europe nearly had it there, but NA
have it.
able.
There's nothing NA can do. At this point, the Nexus is still 1 hit away from being doomed.
True.
So it just takes one European player just running through the jungle, like we see Crazy Rex do right now.
Yeah, they're on their way. They obviously want to finish this. They want to tie this series in the grand final, best of 5 here. Who's having that last spot? Look at that skirmish down here at the red tower. So everyone's pushing, but it was Axis that comes out on top with Rexa's help here. They managed to defend NA once again, and now they're on their way. But there is someone already at the Nexus, if I see the map correctly. It seems like, Crazy Rex is already on it, but there is Garsh right around there, but not really helping. That's it. And with that, there's a tie of the series.
We saw the typical thing, what you do when you win a VR game. You put your hands up in the air.
Put your hands up in the air.
Like you're playing one of those gang beasts when you throw your hands in the air and you just fling them
When you
around.
play what?
The gang beast. It's a weird game.
All right. But that was a completely different game, though.
Yeah.
It was not the same strategy NA used to win match number 1. We saw once again Europe being the dominant in the laning phase, that's for sure. But that fight at the Nexus, I was nearly losing it there.
Yeah, it was definitely... I would say much more action-packed in the ending there than the first game was. But then again, we saw once again EU did what they did in game 1. They got ahead early on. It was really difficult for the side of NA to come back. I think some of that comes down to the fact that Axis was having such a good time on that bottom side of the map. He was getting these kills solo, basically under the enemy tower. And there's very little Pesky can do to counter that. And once you get Hexoth rolling, if Hexoth can get across the map, help your team in the other lane up as well, especially against a player like Garsh, who likes his mobility. You run Hexoth into him, you freeze him, he can't move. There's nothing for him to do. And at that point, you don't even need the wall to actually stun people. You can just hammer them when they're frozen.
It seems like Garsh has a strong early game in general right now for NA, but he's not really getting into mid or late due to how Europe is currently able to build up that gold lead very early. That was way earlier than on match 1. Yep. Also a huge kill lead as well. They had a 10 kill lead basically all the time and at least double the gold as soon as we had it mid game. So Garsh, I still think he's in a strong position to help his team out, but for that, the early game needs to bring a surprise basically for NA. There needs to be like a new idea, a click, and then if they can put some pressure on Europe, there is a chance for them.
As I said, for me, it's very interesting to see that NA hasn't taken the Kyra. EU's running it 2 games now, and it's working wonders. As I said, the 5-second stun into a hammer, that's 700 damage. That is, at level 1, that is almost your full health bar. You have 800 health. That 700 hammer coming down, crashing down into you, or potentially even 2 of your team. That's so devastating, and it forces people back, and it deals so much damage. Joe has ran the Kira before in the Alpha Cup, so for me, it's a little bit surprising that they aren't running the Kira.
With that, the series is tight in the grand final. Both teams on 1 right now, and they want to change it in match number 3. Good thing is, if it's 1-1 and it's match 3, there will be a leader after that. But will it be Europe or will it be an A? That's the big question. It's great to see the players actually moving, right? This is completely different to, let's say, classic esports.
He's way too close to that wall. He's going to smack it at one point.
Nah,
I've done it.
He will save.
You quickly want to turn, and you just hear...
Talking about stuff that happens quickly, first attack on the tower happens very quickly right now.
Oh.
Seems like Garsh was actually listening to us and is like, all right, I will try to get involved everywhere. And immediately, NA is pushing onto that tower.
See, this is the problem where what I kind of recognized throughout the Alpha Cup as well. It's that majority of players don't look at the minimap because the minimap is kind of bothersome to open at times. Majority of the players don't look at it. I personally looked at it a lot, and that sort of situation could have been avoided.
Yeah, they definitely had a lot of damage done to that tower, but then I'll push him back. We see once again Rexa on Kyra getting the first kill there, first 2 kills basically for the European team with a bit of help of Crazy RX. And then now, oh, they are in the tower. There's still Joe around, but they have no stun right now to get Rexa to back off. And now he has to
tower, but bottom line, we had Hexa deal kill off the crystals and deal a little bit of damage to the bottom tower as well. So NA, they're starting up strong, even though they've lost 2 kills. It's no small feat, right? Because 300 gold can basically buy you movement speed in this game, or that tier 1 weapon.
But we know from game 1, they basically got the win gifted, right? With that mistake of Europe and then the backdoor by NA. That's how they won match number 1. Match 2, they had no chance at all. They had never been in control of that match.
Yep.
We talked about how important it is for them to be stronger in early game, and it seems like that's what they're trying to do here. They once again push up to the top tower. Joe involved there and Garsh involved, and they get the tower actually done. So NA has the deficit on the kill count and on gold, but they took the tower. Oh, Kyra coming in. There's the banhammer. Yeah, not gonna help them to run away. Sometimes you can't, you know, it's like Reddit, and then the banhammer just hits.
Yeah, very good execution coming through from the EU team, but they did lose the tower. Looked like it was miscommunication from the NA side, actually, which is kind of surprising to me, because NA people, they are all on the English side of things. For the European side, we do have Crazy Rex. Didn't speak that good of an English throughout the Alpha Cup. He still communicates, which is good, but he's not that fast in English, so you have to take his take your time with him just a little bit in communications. But Joe did back off, and Garsh went for the tower. If they'd gone both for the tower, they would have both survived.
Yeah, he would need a bit of support there by his teammates. Now he got that support. Look at that. All 3 of them are on top lane. They want to push the second tower there. Obviously, Rexa will probably defend that with Crazy RX. The question is if Axis is moving up to top as well. He's now recalling. Yep. He probably goes on top and tries to help out there, because if they all push towards the level 2 tower, then it will be very hard for them. There's only minor damage so far on the bottom tower of NA. Same for the top tower, basically. There were just some minions lately that basically knocked at the door of that tower, but not much happening there. Currently, there is a 1k gold lead. Once again, for Europe, they're really good when it comes to that. But they're not really good at when it comes to defending towers, it seems. And it seems like that is now Crazy RX. And a bit of pressure here from NA. That might be a very close one here.
Joe's out of there. He's out of there. Gone. Elena
running away. Yeah, Crazy RX was able to hold position there. Now it's just some minions that he has to clean up before they can start moving in. But we see that they are pushed back a lot. But there is Axis, and Axis tries to get things moving here with once again the mirror match. Yeah, it is bottom tower.
Ah, he went down. Besky lost that fight. And that's when tier 3... Oh. As I say that, Garsh happens.
Yeah, it's like Garsh was running in it. He's basically Flash. He came in, no one saw him, and then he took down Axis before Axis... Did he took the tower, though?
He's gonna get this tower.
Yeah, that wouldn't fall, but did the NA tower fall as well? No, so it's still up. Yeah, so Europe without a tower. There's Kara coming in. That's the typical combo. No, there's only the silence right now because enemy was dead already. No need to bring the hammer down on everyone here. Joe going for some gold, trying to get some more creeps in his favor, trying to push... No, that's not Joe. That's Crazy RX. I'm sorry for that. No, it is Joe.
So Axis has
Joe,
a
by the
lot
way.
of
It's just
gold.
the mirror match again.
Yeah, Axis has a lot of gold in his pockets. Already has the move speed tier 2 as the fight's gonna happen bottom.
Oh yeah, there's finally the towers going down for Europe. So they took 1, but they lost 2 already. Also got an additional kill. Look at that, it's 9-0 on the kill board. But NA is not really trading. They got those 2 tower. They put a lot of pressure early on the European team this time on red. And with that, Europe now has to wake up, a wake-up call, and then they're going onto that tower. They try to push here now. That's once again Rexa and Rexa and Axis trying to move on to, but there is Garsh on the other side defending. Pasky just waiting around the corner, basically, and then greeting them with some spells if they come around.
Yeah, Pesky waiting for the gank happening there, but well, in the end, the EU does take it a little bit safer this time around. They don't want to have happen what happened in game 1, where they did go overly greedy and got punished for it instantly, considering the fact at this point, Garsh could probably solo a tower, and with the help of his team, they could basically backdoor tier 2, which will mean the backdoor onto Nexus opening up, so.
If you watch this, always keep in mind that this is play in VR, means it was actually possible to hide there because they're not having the same view on the fight as we do. We saw Pasky standing there behind the wall, but Rexa and Axis couldn't. And due to this being obviously a first-person VR MOBA, so that is a second level tower, if I'm not mistaken.
Both sides, actually.
Both sides, yeah, they got top and bottom.
Well, they haven't gotten it yet, but they're pressuring both of them. So at the same time, it's going to be Joe versus Crazy Rex up top, and then 2 versus 2 down bottom, which I believe NA actually lost.
Yeah, Joe is retreating already, waiting for the minion wave to help out a bit. But it's not looking good for Europe here in the second. Even with an 11-0 kill lead and a lot of gold on their hands, it seems they are not in control. Now it's once again the mirror fight. It's Crazier going up against Joe. Crazier a bit lower on health, and there is damage to the tower done already. So Europe has to defend this on both sides. That's the issue here. As soon as NA decides to go for 1 with all 3 of them, it will be very hard.
I'm not sure what Axis is doing because the tier 1 tower is still open up top, so he can't really go for the back door on tier 2, which I believe was his thought process. Actually, he's going to the bottom side now.
Yeah, he was switching over. We saw that on the mini-map on bottom right here for us.
Surprise!
Axis nearly died.
Gosh, he's running.
Did he die? No. Oh, he died. Axis got taken out. So that was the first kill for NA here. The guys trying to hold on to this desperately. They got the lead in terms of towers, but they will also need to manage to get some gold and actually stay in this game. Pesky's recalling once again.
The pressure down at the bottom side of the map. Garsh!
Oh yeah, that's Garsh. Garsh can take all of that. Yeah, he's so quick. Look at that. There's obviously Axis coming in, the stuns coming out, all the damage done by the tower as well. So he takes Garsh before Garsh can take the tower there, but it was close already.
He got the 2 crystals down, so now the tower is vulnerable. So it's only tower to take down, which is not going to be a huge feat for Garsh. As we do see, actually.
Oh, Axis is going on a rampage right now, taking 2 on his run here.
He's getting these kills, but at the same time, this game around, the EU isn't as cohesive as last game. They're not running as 3. They're not trying to pressure the enemy as 3 people. They're just...
It seems like communication is a bit off.
It seems like it, yeah.
And I mean, like I said, 13-1 right now, but they're definitely not the dominating team. It's NA deciding where the fights will happen, where the pressure is being built, even though Garsh is now defending one of their towers.
At this point, it's not a favorable matchup to Garsh. Axis he can solo Garsh very quickly, considering the half HP Garsh is at.
He's still under the tower, though. He's not really wanting to risk this. There's no support by his teammates. If he still no, he's going into it. There's the stun coming out, and I'm pretty sure that Garsh will fall. And he did.
He went down.
Yes, that's another kill for Europe, up to 14, and a tower. So they catch up. NA has to do something right now, because as soon as they get this hype train rolling for Europe, it's done.
So the problem is NA now need to get this top tower down, otherwise the game is basically done. Actually, it is going to be done, because they're going to be backdooring here.
Yeah, there, look at that. Kyra is already on it, with a bit of support of Axis, with a Hacksaw. Oh, Crystal's still around. Yeah, Garsh trying to defend desperately. Garsh takes out Axis. That's another kill, and he's now chasing down Kyra. Rexa is on the run, trying to get away. Not sure. They saw the damage coming off that. Kyra, though, there's the hammer, and with that, Garsh is out of this, and they no, Garsh is still in. He's still alive.
How did he survive?
I don't know. He did. And so is the Nexus, it seems. Yeah, they actually defended it. Joe came in to help out, and with that, NA can live for at least another minute, maybe.
So the only hope right now for NA is the bottom tower, which doesn't have any crystals left. It only has the tower portion to go through. I would imagine NA wanting to go backdoor that crystal, but at the same time, that opens up the back door for their own base. So they have to be very smart where they go.
Garsh and Joe are on the way though. They're running right into Axis. Axis down with the actual stun there. It seems like their damage output is a lot higher. They now got Garsh out of that, but Joe got away, it seems. Yep, he's still running away, both going for it now.
The back door is going to more than likely happen here. That's what they're going for. Even if they don't get the kill, they're still going to get the back door.
Yeah, there's not much left, actually. And it seems like they took that match, did they? No, it didn't. All right, I was just so afraid at that moment, but they now have the chance to get the damage done on the Nexus, and it's Europe taking match number 3 and building their first lead, by the way.
Well, my prediction is just crumbling, like that core in the game 3 there.
But that happens to the best of us, we know that.
It happens. My numbers were off, you know, I made a mistake in the calculations somewhere. But yeah, it was a very dominant game for me. Once again, we saw struggling in the early game where they almost lost the tower instantly.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they had been in control or dominating the early. They had been dominating in terms of kills.
Yeah.
But what happened on the map? That was an A.
Yeah, it definitely was kind of a strange sight, because NA was, in terms of map control, they had 2 towers on the NA side. They were doing the rotations. They were kind of playing a little bit team game. And then we saw EU getting these one-off kills, Axis just running around, just bursting everybody down, because that's exactly what Hexoth is built to do. You want to get those one-off kills, but then Axis would run into like 2 people that were trying to rotate from the NA side. So it was all sorts of chaotic, but once again, I feel like what NA is missing is that Kyra. That Kyra is time and time again, those wall stuns, those hammers. I can't stress it enough how good the character is currently, because of exactly the CC and the damage she brings.
I like that NA was capable this time to be more in the early game, applying pressure to Europe, but they had the game at their hands at one point, but then basically all the deficit, all the negative facts they had from the early, which was not having gold lead, not having kill lead, became stronger. It started to roll over them, right? They had the early game, they had map control, as you said, but then they couldn't make enough out of it. They got the 2 towers, not like nothing happened, but it wasn't enough to take the lead, and then Europe just came back with all the stuff they actually accumulated in early.
So the thing, what I think comes into play here was the fact that on the NA side, they got the 2 towers, but they also lost a lot of kills. And kills are, I believe they're 300 gold for a kill currently, if you take it on kind of last hit. So whoever last hit gets 300. And at the same time, towers, they do give 300 across the board. But at the same time, you're still kind of equaling out those sums in terms of if 2 people get kills, or maybe 1 person gets 2 kills, then he's going to have more gold than your whole team, basically, and he can still kind of help his team out. And I think that's when it came to, was that I believe Kyra got the double kill early on Rexar. He was running onto the tower, and getting those early kills, you can get the wall so quickly, and just off the back of that, you can stun, you can dominate the lane. And even if you did lose the tower early on, it wasn't a huge loss, because that Kyra will still be effective, because their gold difference wasn't that big for her.
I was kind of surprised that they actually lost those towers, because Axis on Hexoth switched up to top lane way earlier than on the previous ones, which I really like, because he helped out his team on top. He made sure that there's enough damage for the European side to to basically defend that.
Yeah.
But it seems like it wasn't really that effective as we thought.
Yeah, it didn't seem to have a huge impact. Well, not as huge of an impact, but it's definitely good to see them rotating very, very early on. In Game 2, that's what brought them the victory. So I would imagine them doing 4 and 5 games. I would imagine that being the same if we don't, finish at 4, where EU just does 3-1.
Yeah, it is obviously a possibility right now. They are in lead. As I said, it's the first time that Europe is leading because they have been trailing early on. They lost match 1, they came back in match 2, and now they took 2 in a row to the 3-1 score, 2-1 score, 3-1 score, 2-1 score that we currently have in favor of Europe. So they could close this out now. They could take the 3,500 and this nice trophy right in the next match. Yeah. But it also means that NA is more than aware of that. They have to push as hard as they can right now to keep in this game, tie the series once again 2-2, and they would actually go into a 5th match, which is something I like. Because it's a final going into that last 5th match. It's absolutely what I want, even though I want Europe to win.
Yeah, going down the wire is definitely an interesting one, especially in the finals. That kind of proves how close these two teams would be matched. In terms of gameplay, we've seen EU in terms of kill domination. I would say EU is way far ahead. I believe for 3 games, EU has had over 10 kills per game currently, and NA is just 1 to 2. Maybe.
We could call it efficiency. I mean, they won 50% of the matches. Right, they won 1, not 50% overall now, but they won 1. Europe won 2, right? So 50% of that number, not of the previous one. And they did that with, I think, even if we take all the matches now and accumulate their kills, it's not above 10.
I think so. It comes
or
very
maybe close to 10.
It's very close.
Yeah, but Europe is like sitting at what? 15?
30 or something?
16?
I'd say 30 at
Tons. A lot. Really, a lot of kills. A lot of kills. But it just shows that killing isn't everything.
Yeah, it does. I mean, even NA clutching out the first game. Again, it comes down to strategies. We saw Garsh having that fantastic time just backdooring those towers.
Quick on his feet, yep.
And it's definitely interesting to see if NA now, they know that something is wrong because they've lost the 2 games very decisively, I'd say, in terms of kills. Of course, the gameplay can prove a little different. But again, in terms of overall kind of point, whoever destroys the Nexus wins the game. So it really doesn't matter how many kills you have. But again, I would say in terms of strategy, I think they need to change something. Personally, I'd like to see Joe on Kyra bring it onto an equal playing field. That way, at least I'd say NA has a better chance at maybe closing out the kill cap.
But they don't really want to lose Atwood, obviously. Garsh is doing a great job on Atwood.
Yeah, that's why I said
they can't. The only one is Joe, and Joe seems to be pretty locked on to Helena in terms of his choice today.
I would say Joe definitely isn't a bad Helena player, but I know Kyra can have a much higher impact. So his skill is probably very good on Helena. The thing is, though, Helena doesn't bring too much to the team. Of course, we see Crazier Rex going Helena, but that's because he's played so many games of Helena. I've seen Joe play Kyra multiple times throughout the Alpha Cup, and he did very good on that character. And I don't really see why NA don't want to utilize a character that does bring a lot of CC, a lot of damage to the board. Also, the tanking capability, Juggernaut does provide you with the heal, the little shields that go around you. Plus, Silentium kind of cancels out the couple of abilities that you have to utilize. And doesn't cancel out the ultimate, but the other abilities it does silence out. So, Kyra is definitely a very good character to run. Just doesn't make sense to me why they wouldn't pick it up.
You think it could be pressure? I mean, we're talking about the first Cradle of Sins grand final, right? All of these guys are here for the first time being in a VR MOBA final, and no one wants to be the one doing stupid mistakes, basically, right? Do you think it's that? Maybe it's just like, I'll stick to that character right now because I know exactly what will happen.
The pressure can definitely have an impact on your choices. I witnessed it firsthand. I've been a player myself as well, so I know exactly the kind of impact pressure can have on your decision making. In terms of what these players might be thinking, I don't really know why it would affect them that much. As I said, they've played so many games throughout the Alpha Cup qualifications. At one point, yes, the amount of money comes into play, right? Something goes in your head that says, hey, if we win this, then we're going to get a lot more money than when we come second. But at the same time, it doesn't usually affect that much on how you want to play the game strategically. Yes, it might make you play defensive in the game, so once you get into the game, you're going to play a little safer. But in terms of picks, in terms of bans, well, we don't have draft here currently, but usually in terms of picks, it shouldn't affect that much.
It's definitely a factor in esports in general. The pressure will happen. We obviously talked already about communication between the teams, right? Europe, obviously with the downside of having our players from different countries with different native languages. While we look at the NA side, they all have English as their native language. Makes them probably a bit quicker when it comes to talking to each other and understanding each other, and that might be different for Europe, but so far they did really well on their side, managed to get the kills, managed to actually be in control of their lanes most of the time and controlling the economy of the entire game.
Yeah, it's definitely been a European-dominated economy, and it's very nice to see Europe kind of bring that style of gameplay to the board, especially in the finals. It clearly shows they have practiced and they've gone through their strategizing.
No, same thing. Okay, what worked best was when we did it the first time. We got the jungle buff, and then we rushed through and we played conservative. So don't try to counter rush towers. Like, we get towers by killing them and then rush, not by just diving towers when they're alive, because that's how we got killed last game.
That's true.
So play conservative in the beginning. Yeah. So we're gonna do the jungle thing again, because that worked well. There was, aside from us getting hit by fire, which was unfortunate, we still did fine in that game.
Yeah.
So
we do the exact same thing as first time.
yeah, first game, just play conservative. If they push you, if Hex moves up, like, let's do the same thing at the beginning, because I think that worked fine. And I'll trade the jungle buff for speed the first time I go back. Lock in, Garsh. Lock in now.
We are slowly loading into the game. It'll definitely be interesting to see if somebody switched something off.
No. The show is still on Helena. We got Garsh and Atwood. Pesky, obviously, on you know when you swallow your own thong. That is, no, not that. Tongue, by the way. This will be my most remarkable sentence of tonight. Never mind, though.
Yeah, both of these teams are going for the jungle straight off the bat, so they're not doing anything crazy just yet. They're sticking with what they know, and right now it's working for EU at least.
That is true, but we saw how NA created this strong early game that they had in Game 3.
Oh, sorry,
and maybe this time they can learn from that. Once again, trying to dominate there and then get more out of it. Last time they got 2 towers, which wasn't a bad start for them, but still, Europe came out as the winners and now leading for the first time. NA has to stop them now. No other way.
Yeah, the NA definitely, it's up to them to...
Oh, look at that. Garsh once again on the tower already with Joe. They're trying to get top tower here. A bit of damage done very early.
They got the first blood. I believe they haven't got first blood.
No, that's the first
3 games.
Yeah, that's the first blood for them in the entire grand final. Oh, things go crazy now. Now everything can happen.
Yeah, all the doors are open. I mean, now it comes down to the magic at the bottom.
Oh, you tried that again. Look at that, the mirror match between Axis and Pesky. These two know each other very well by now, because that's the 4th match they go into this mirror match down there. It seems like once again Axis being a bit more aggressive on the push. And we saw that in all the previous matches, so nothing really changed there. Interesting how they dodge each other's shots.
That hasn't worked for Pesky in past 3 games. Why is he still going 1-to-1 in terms of auto attack?
Sometimes you just want to know.
Actually,
it worked. Oh, yeah, we saw Axis already. Axis already going backwards, but Pesky now has to leave. And there was 1 crystal going down already. Might also lose the second one if Axis can get a bit closer. Nope, there are the minions coming.
Yeah,
so nothing happening there.
So the thing is, on top to the red side and down at the bottom to the yellow side, you can take down 2 crystals basically without going into the tower range. They currently ranged auto attacks work that way, so you can just basically barely outrange the tower, so you can take those crystals down without putting yourself in jeopardy.
On top we had Rexa going up against Joe. That was the match we just saw. But it seems like Pesky can at least breathe a bit more freely now. We'll also take that minion there. and finally push minions out of his tower, but he lost that one crystal. We talked about that. Now has to recall. So let's see. It seems like red is on the way now. Europe pushing on top, but Garsh and Joe already waiting under the tower.
How does EU keep doing it, man? They're just, again, in terms of gold lead, they're 300 in the lead.
It's crazy, right?
That's a movement speed item in the game. That's tier 2 movement speed, not even tier 1. So that's basically the most you can get out of a single item in terms of movement speed. So it's very...
But they're not getting to the tower. Look at that. Once again, it is Crazy Rex that has to step back a bit. And now... they pushing, they're right between both of the towers. Kyra getting in now, there's the stun, there's no hammer, there is the hammer going down, and it seems like that is one more kill for the kill feed of Europe.
Yeah, Europe did get a kill there, but Garsh going head first, he's steaming under the tower there.
I just love Garsh, he's running into problems everywhere, he doesn't mind, he's just like, man, I'm so quick on my feet, and then I get stuck under the enemy tower, and then I die, and didn't got anything out of this.
So usually Europe is the more safe region when it comes to MOBAs, but clearly, well, Europe is the more aggressive, usually. Sorry, I mixed that up. But this time around, it seems like NA really, they're just steaming through it.
If this would be football, there would be a statistic showing us how many kilometers Garsh ran throughout the entire grand final. And I'll tell you, that will be a huge number because that guy is always on the run, always getting in there. And now it's Pesky that tries to push bottom really quickly. Is there no one on the European side? No, there is. Axis showing up there, and quickly Pesky just decides to...
I think for Garsh, the more interesting strategy would be how much he's actually stood still.
Maybe. He thinks if he runs fast enough, time is actually going backwards, and then he gets another shot at it. But they're below the European tower on top. There's once again Kyra's combination coming out, and that's also a kill. Yep.
Garsh.
That was Garsh. Who else managed to be that quickly on the tower? But we see Joe is still around though, and it seems like Rex are not getting the damage done here to also take out Joe. And Joe actually managed to get away.
Well, the problem with Kyra is once you do the initial combo, the wall into the hammer drop, you don't really have that much damage. You just have your auto attacks, which, if you're Joe, you can just outrun. And the cool thing about MOBA is you can fire behind your back while you're running away, so you can actually shoot the Kyra that's chasing you. That is not a favorable fight for Rexar, so definitely a smart choice not to go for the chase there.
Once again, Axis trying to push a bit on bottom tower. He had that early on already when he took that crystal, but since then, not much happened. This time it looks a bit better though, but Pesky is losing that mirror match. It's just so clearly to see here, and I'm a bit surprised they're not trying to rotate the entire thing and just get Pesky on top, just trying to defend a bit. But Kyra, obviously, as I said already, is kind of a counter to Haxel. So they don't really want to do that. Joe and Garsh once again defending top tower, and there is nearly a 1k gold lead already.
Yeah, it is very good for Europe right now. Again, if NA would have Kyra, they could rotate Kyra to gank bottom. They could take down that Hex off, but currently there's literally no play that NA can make that will make this situation any better, because they can't rotate anybody down at the bottom, because the only stun they have on top is Joe with the tornado that Helena throws out, the first ability. So that's the only stun, and that's not a reliable stun like Hex off stun is, or wall.
Crazy Rex and Rex are moving on top, but there is a skirmish already in the mirror match, and it seems like this time Axis not coming out on top. He has to retreat once again, and Pesky is the winner of this small fight though. There's still a lot going on top. Seems like Rex and Crazy Rex still waiting for their chance to get into that tower. You see, all the crystals are gone already, and Garsh and Joe are basically the last bastion here, trying to defend that tower. So far, by the way, 7 minutes in, no tower down. I think that's one of our new records here.
Yeah, this game's taking a while, man.
7 minutes too much for you already in terms of work? Like, oh, that's too long. Didn't sign for that one. So no, they're doing well there. It's just on both NA towers, they miss crystals already. It seems like Europe is way more stable on that. They didn't really have to defend their towers a lot. Oh no, wait, Garsh ran into that one. Yeah, they also no crystals.
There is one, I believe, because it's the tower health on the minimap is still showing as the tower is locked. So actually, now they cleared it up, but now they're gonna die in the top.
Probably. Once again, Axis against Pesky. No clear winner on that one. Still got the minions around though, but there's a huge skirmish on the top tower. Garsh tries to run away, but this time he will get away, even though with Kyra chasing after him, there's no chance for Rexar to stun and do that combination. 4-2 right now in terms of kills. This is a completely different early game to all the previous 3 matches.
Yeah, NA is definitely doing a lot better this game around. They're holding on again in terms of long run. I think that's going to benefit them just a little bit because they do have Edward. Edward can push out a lot of DPS with those kind of melee auto attack swings plus the DPS from the ranged one. So if Garsh gets near a tower with the full build, that's definitely going down very quickly. But at the same time, EU, they have a very good team fighting and rotational team. So as long as they can keep rotating, maybe stop the map from going into NA favor, they have a pretty good chance at late game.
Garsh getting a bit closer now. There was a chance for Kyra. Rexa immediately locked onto Atwood, but there was no chance to get damage done just yet. But they're still in front of that tower. Now they're moving, and Garsh will be in a bit of trouble. There's the stun coming out. The hammer going down. With that, Garsh will be history.
Every time you see that combo, it just never gets old. The hammer dropping from the skies, it's just great. And the damage it provides, as I said, I've said so many times throughout the broadcast, it's a huge amount of damage.
I demand next trophy will be that hammer. See it already with a wall in the background, maybe. Could work well, but this doesn't really work well for Axis. He gets been chased down by Pesky, and even Joe came in as backup there, but wasn't really needed. It was another kill. No, that's the closest they've ever been in terms of kills. That's for sure. 4-3.
Yeah, Rexa's moving in now as well from the top side, so you can see him just in a second there.
Yeah, he's coming around the corner. There's once again that combination coming out, but not enough damage without the hammer, so no kill on that one.
Also missed the stun because the wall doesn't stun when you run into it. It only stuns when it spawns. So with him placing the wall down, both of those characters being just split up, there's no way to get the stun. Got the stun onto minions, but at that point it's just running away from the NA team.
All the towers are still around. Crossing the 10-minute mark here. Rexa once again trying to push into that top tower fell already. So that is -1 on the tower list.
Do you want to know who's going for the top tower? Garsh.
Probably. I mean, that's basically what he has to do, right? We see that Crazy Rex is already behind it, waiting for Garsh, maybe even hiding behind we talked about in VR. You can hide behind the tower, but Garsh, not that aggressive this time.
Well, Garsh is going to bottom side to gang, so that's definitely a good move to make.
Oh, helping out on Axis. Axis now, he definitely needs to get away, but Garsh is super quick. Now running around, Pesky is trying to move into that. Both getting the stun down on Garsh. Garsh is also done here. That will be another kill for Europe.
What was that? I mean, Garsh chased Axis away.
He had the upper hand.
And then he backed away, and now the fight's going to happen at bottom.
Yeah, there's no chance for Pesky to defend.
Both of them.
Oh, no, wait. Yeah,
both
Axis full, but Kyra, she will just manage that tower here and get rid of it.
Oh, that was kill onto... Was it Joe? Yeah,
Joe fell, and Pesky fell as well.
Yeah, so EU, once again, even though they're not rotating as much this time around, not getting as many kills, they're still winning the kind of map domination game because they have cleaned both tier 1s up. And as we see, Crazy Rex is already taking the crystals out on the top side, so EU can just brute force that tower whenever they feel like it.
Yeah, they're sacrificing here to get all the crystals, as you said, on top tower from the European side. 6-4 in terms of kills, but there is nearly a 4K gold lead for Europe, for the red team. We see Kyra once again moving around, looking for a next target. There is the wall coming down. There was a stun. Yep. And with that, I think that was Garsh getting killed there. And a double for Europe. They might even turn that into a triple because there is still Pesky. Pesky's alive. He tries to get away, but there was the last damage needed. And with that, he's done.
So that's 3 kills for the European side with no response from NA. So it definitely goes to show that EU is doing something right.
It was 4-3. 4-3 in terms of kills before. Yeah. Now it's 9-4.
Yeah, EU seems like their communications are on point. They know what they want to be doing, and they're clearly communicating that throughout the team.
Europe just a step away, actually, from taking $3,500 US. If they take down this Nexus, they obviously are willing to commit everything here to get in. Kyra probably dies right in front of it. Yep, no chance for her. Garsh coming in, trying to defend, but there's just so much So much damage everywhere. Crazy Rex also dies, so it seems like at least the first attack, the first blow, was being stopped by an A.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't really stop the bleeding anymore. It's the base doesn't regen, at least not to my knowledge. It doesn't regen. It did
Not
in the
yet.
Alpha Cup. Maybe
No,
in the
you
future.
said it, yeah.
Yeah, surprisingly, the Nexus is going to be full HP. But
in this game, click, done.
But you can't really stop the bleeding. There's no way NA can get 2 towers without the response from EU. And every time NA does try to go for the tower,
Yeah,
you can
look at
backdoor.
that. Kyra is trying to push through with axes. But there is still life in NA. They're still defeating, but there is the backdoor coming. That is the Kyra moving on to NA Nexus. They just need that one Nexus. That would be the win in the grand final. The first big esports win in VR MOBA could go to a European mixed team. That is now Axis Munde. He's trying to team up with Crazy Rex, but there's Gosh trying to defend. Kyra coming in. Kyra will get that damage down. There's no chance for Gosh to stop it, but now Joe is moving in, trying to help out and get rid of Kyra right in front of the Nexus. But it's not how it ended.
Yeah, it was a long road, but in the end, NA just couldn't quite clutch it out in the end there. As I said, throughout the series, multiple times, I believe that Kyra was the difference between these two teams. You saw Crazy Rex doing very well with Helena. On multiple occasions, he was winning fights against Joe. We saw, of course, Axis on that Hexoth winning his lane as well. So it's just consistently 1v1s. And then when it came down to it, it was Garsh's Edward versus Kyra being played by Rexar. And that's where all the huge difference came in, because Rexar can rotate across the map. He can stun, he can burst. Garsh doesn't have that potential. Yes, Garsh has a lot of DPS, but that comes into play when you're equal or ahead, not when you're behind trying to kind of keep yourself alive. That's when you're going to get nuked by Kyra.
But I want to highlight that even though the scoring reads 3-1 for Europe, we saw a different match every single time. So NA was adapting. They're trying to do small changes, not completely thrown away their tactic and going for something new, which was probably way too risky, but they improved. Early game was super strong in Game 3. Early game actually managed to stay on level with Europe in Game 4, keeping them in the matchup. They had never been closer than that in terms of kills and gold. But Europe, in the economy, was always flowing for them. They always made sure that they had the upper hand in at least 50% of the statistics, more like 70% of the statistics all the time, especially the kills. So NA kind of trailing, not really getting onto the last bit that was missing to beat Europe.
Again, as I said in the last game as well, NA was just, I don't know how EU did it, but they were ahead majority of the time with gold. And that's when both of the teams were doing the same kind of strategy, because in the end, they both did the first Ogre camp, then they went to the Mage that is next to the middle there, and then they rotated into the middle Ogre camp as well, so that's 3 camps for both sides. But when we got to the lane, EU was somehow ahead. 200 gold ahead somehow. So either EU was having a better time last hitting the creeps and getting the money from that. There's no other explanation there, because the kills in the early game, they weren't so split up.
And they tried everything. We saw them going jungle first, and they were really aggressive on lanes instead when the next match started. So we saw different approaches to how to beat Europe. But in the end, as I said already, they kind of managed to always get that money in, making sure that they stay on top of NA here in the grand final. With that, they actually secured themselves $3,500 for coming first here.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, considering
it is.
Considering the second place gets 1,500 there, so that's some amount.
Plus the actual trophy. That's the important part. They got the trophy.
That's the MVP trophy. The best
So
who's
getting it?
Good question. I have no idea.
You need to figure it out at one point, because otherwise, if there's no one claiming it, then obviously I will take it. So just saying, better find an MVP, otherwise that trophy will just be gone.
Actually, I will say this. Everybody in EU did actually very well, considering 1v1 matchups. Usually, you can say one person is the MVP when you look at the whole kind of game, the series.
Kyra.
That was the difference, but Kyra alone wasn't winning them the games. It was honestly, it was team effort. As as kind of cliche as it is to say this, it was a team effort. No player was standing out with huge plays. Everybody was making micro plays, and from those micro plays, they got the advantage, they pushed the advantage as a team, and then they came out on top as a team rather than one guy running around the map doing all the killing or pushing all by himself.
I would give it to Garsh, though, because there's no one else that ran that many meters in this game. I'm absolutely sure. I mean, that guy was all over the place. He was trying to defend, then he was running into the tower to actually take a kill under the tower and take the tower, getting crystals here, then going back to creep camp, then going back into a different lane. It seems like that guy is nowhere at home. He's just running everywhere.
If Garsh keeps playing Edward, he's going to have killer biceps by the end of his Cradle of Sins gaming career, because when you're doing this consistently, trying to run, you're always working out your biceps, so he's going to have to go through doors sideways.
Maybe he should also put some weight on it, just to help that effect.
Yeah, possibly. It's easy to say that, but I know exactly how hard it is to just go through it multiple times. There's only so many things you can do to kind of help yourself out. We saw some of the players, even in the stream, when we were seeing the first-person views, some of the players were making circles instead of just running up and down. So players have their own way of adapting to kind of compensate.
But even the circles, it's not like you just do that without any effort, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you still need to move. That's the cool part about VR esports in general, and obviously VR and MOBA with bringing in so many new possibilities. I really like the fact that they can hide behind the stones. We saw that in the game. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun grand finals. It was a long road for these players. The Alpha Cup has been. I believe the qualifiers were already close to a month in the length, though. It was a long run to get here, and now players getting rewarded with even a little bit of extra cash here in winning this. I mean, I'm glad EU won because I'm an EU, you know.
Oh, winning team joiner.
But
no.
But all things considered, then they played. I think they played well. Of course, my prediction missed, so.
So yeah, I will sign the European team. I'll get them pro right now. Pro circuit on Cradle of Sins will start next month. No, it's not an announcement. Just
8 hours a day practice.
Yeah, sure. They will hit the gym a lot. I will actually get Garsh as personal trainer. Just to make sure that the guys are
hey Garsh,
on their feet.
I need you to do this 8 hours a day, just run around.
Yeah. Maybe we can outsource that. He will do the running and then we'll give the controls. Or it's like the rest will do.
Midway through the match we switch. So it's two people playing the same.
That will be Cradle of Sins tag team tournament. So instead of 3v3, it will be 6v6. But they all have to go and give their controls to the next guy and stuff like that. So every time they recall, they have to check. Yeah, you see, VR esports happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a long road, and all the community members. It's been a great pleasure to be a part of all this, kind of even seeing the game just kind of progress through development. It's been an absolutely fun experience, and I'm personally glad I found the game and saw exactly what the VR MOBA in its early stages is, because I've been a long-time player and I love MOBA games. So VR MOBA is definitely an interesting aspect, something I'm going to keep my eye on, and something I'm definitely sure other people will keep their eye on as well.
It is the next step, but we learned that already on different projects, but especially on Cradle of Sins. Obviously, it's the community keeping things alive, right? There's this development team behind it, which is very small, right? They work on a very big project. I mean, doing a VR MOBA is not a thing that you just like let appear, that's it,
overnight.
Right? There's a lot of work and effort that goes into it, but it's also the community really helping, like driving the game forward, helping with feedback, obviously participating in tournaments like this, right? Which is also a way of rewarding your community for the feedback, because without it wouldn't work, right? So I just like the synergy in the gaming industry, basically, where both sides help each other out to create something and then have great moments like this grand final.
Yeah, I mean, and there's plentiful to come in the future as well, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's not like VR gaming's going anywhere, and the more we have these sort of tournaments, the more players come accustomed to this kind of different styles of gameplay. I mean, even in MOBAs, you can have different characters with different play styles, and you kind of have to kind of change up how you would normally play these VR games. So there's a multitude of things that can be done in the VR environment. As I said in the beginning, you can 360 dab on a Nexus. And it's a thing.
We didn't saw that here today.
It's a thing. But yeah, I mean, VR, just kind of the freedom of movement and everything. It's just it's basically perfect for anybody enjoying having a fun time, because there's a couple of moments from the Alpha Cup even when we were facing up against some of the other community members where you can have fun. You're going in lane, you know who you're facing up against, and you can have some great moments like that, being like keep your hands in the air. You can have great moments in VR, and you can remember that very easily for the rest of your life.
Of course, you should not just listen to us and see us. We also want to talk to the players, and for that, we got Sonia Haskins ready at the sideline.
Hello, everybody. I am Sonia Haskins, known as Haska7 in the gaming world, and basically, I go around cover VR esports. I love virtual reality and VR gaming, competitive gaming in particular. So I am the VR esports editor for VR Fitness Insider, and I also write for vrleague.gg. I am here today covering the world's first MOBA VR tournament, which is very exciting. And we just had that competition between Europe and North America. Right now, I'm going to chat just a little bit with Rexar, who was on the winning European team. So, Rexar, could you start out and just give us a quick introduction of yourself, where you're from, how old you are, and just a very brief summary of how you became involved in virtual reality esports?
Hello, I go online with the nickname of Rexar. My real name is Simon. I'm 25 years old. I'm from Czech Republic. I got into gaming around 6 years old, and actually my father got me into it. I was competitive ever since. I was playing with my brother, competing with him in teams, against him as well. And then I was playing a lot of Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 4, Rainbow Six Siege. But around 2 years ago, I went into VR arcade and tried VR, immediately fell in love with that, and did some research, bought my own VR headset, and started looking for some VR esports. My main occupation in VR now is Onward. Yeah, I'm playing in one of the top teams in Europe, Onward.
That's exciting. Yeah, we're familiar with Onward. That's a first-person shooter from Downpour Interactive. And I was wondering, when you were talking about playing other esports before you had purchased your VR headset, I'm guessing that you were pretty involved with MOBAs. Did you do any competitive MOBA play before
No.
Cradle of Sins?
I never really did like a competitive on a team playing or some competition on events in MOBAs, no. But I always tried almost all the MOBAs with my brother, just duo. We were playing League of Legends, we were playing Heroes of the Storm, and we were hitting high ranks, yes, but we were never on a team competing in tournaments. But I tried a lot of different MOBAs like Smite, League of Legends, Dota, like others.
How does playing a VR MOBA compare to playing a flat MOBA just on a traditional flat screen? Because, you know, most of us who play VR esports on a regular basis realize that when you're in virtual reality, you're actually in the game. You feel like you're actually in the game. And so what's the sensation like for you when you're playing a VR MOBA versus something like League of Legends on a flat screen?
Oh, it's absolutely amazing. It's uncomparable almost, because yes, it is the same genre. It's MOBA, but to use an ability on PC and MOBA, you just hit a Q or W or E. But in the VR, to cast the abilities, to make a wall, you need to raise your hands. To cast the chain lightning, you need to like make a move with your hands. It's really, really immersive. It's super immersive. And I'm sweating right now after the final so hard that PC gamer would never really do. So it's great.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because before the interview started, you were saying you were sweating and needed some water. So, I mean, I know personally, we've had a lot of people say they've lost weight and you can gain muscle and stuff like that. What do you see as some of the advantages of VR esports over traditional esports?
It's definitely the health, because sitting 8 hours a day in front of a PC is probably not healthy, and VR is much better in this. I don't know really what else to add to it. You can't even literally play 8 hours straight in VR, probably. Tried it. My back hurt a lot. So
yeah, I used to play competitive in Echo Arena, and I think the days we did competitive games, it would go for like 6-7 hours, and it was pretty taxing. You would constantly have to be rehydrating yourself. So, I was wondering, what do you think about where VR is headed? What do you think is the future of VR, and particularly VR esports? What are your hopes for that, and what do you see as the future?
Um, my hopes are definitely to get enough people into VR so that matchmaking works. Because, for example, as of now, if I talk about Onwards, there is only around 40 teams in the league, and they are different skill. And yes, there is some league and some MMR, and it works. But my ultimate goal would be to have a game where I just press play battle, and it matches me with pretty fast. I don't have to wait long. It matches me with people around the same skill. Because yeah, as VR is now, this is what I remember from PC gaming back in the day. Looking for matches on MIRC and other softwares, and then let's say Dota 1, the first MOBA before Dota 2 came out, just a mod map in Warcraft. It was so hard to find a team of the same skill and stuff. And then matchmaking on PC is such a great thing. And it's so simple as well, but it doesn't work in VR just yet because there's not enough people, not enough players.
Numbers, sure.
So yeah.
So right now, the main challenge is just simply the fact that there aren't enough numbers of people involved yet. But as far as the actual progress that's been made on the games and the content levels, would you say that actually, once we have the numbers of players involved in VR esports, that we definitely are going to have a great setup for worldwide competitive VR tournaments, such as the Cradle of Sins and others that we're seeing come out?
Yeah, definitely. I also feel like more of public, non-gaming public, is accepting VR esports more as a sport, because if you would talk about PC esport, people are like, but that's not sport. Why do you call it esport? Right? You're just sitting in front of PC. I feel like when I'm talking to public, to people that don't play that much about VR esports, they are much more taking it as, it could be a sport. You actually have to move. You have to be fast to do the things. So
That's true. That's great. And so, what would you recommend, or do you have any advice for people who might be interested in getting involved with VR gaming or competitive VR esports? What are your recommendations for them?
The first important thing is to find which headset you want to go. So go into VR arcades and test different headsets, which one fits you the most, and then for example, me, I had a big problem with motion sickness in VR. So I would just say, don't give up and keep trying. Because what I read on the internet when I had motion sickness was that do it little by little, 5 minutes every day or something, and push the limits. But it didn't really work for me. What worked for me more was play non-locomotion game that doesn't make you sick at all, then play something that makes you a little bit more sick, and then I went to the games with like full normal movement.
Yeah. Oh, that's great advice. Yeah, that's really good advice. I, in real life, had horrible motion sickness before I started playing VR, and now I literally can fly in airplanes. I can ride in cars. It's very strange.
It's
It's almost
amazing.
like it almost fixes motion sickness overall. I feel like it just flipped a switch in my brain, so now I don't even get motion sick in cars anymore in real life. It's very strange.
Oh, yeah, I can relate
Go
to
ahead.
it. That's true. I was getting sick in cars a lot as well before I started playing VR.
Yeah, I've had numerous people tell me this. This isn't a fluke. I've literally talked to thousands of people around the world about virtual reality all the time, and there have been so many of them that have told me the same exact situation where they've had issues such as, they're dealing with PTSD or depression or physical issues or motion sickness, whatever it is. It's almost like VR, and in a way, it's doing something subtly that's fixing parts of our brain that we aren't necessarily actively trying to do, but it's having a positive effect, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I had another question for you. The last question. Basically, we actually spend a lot of time working with people on building VR communities, and we try to make sure that people understand community is real important. And so that's one thing that U24 Solutions has done a great job with, trying to into the alpha community to try to get involved in the alpha cup and the beta testing, the different testings that will go on. And so I think that's awesome. I really respect them for doing that. And so with the people who want to become involved in virtual reality and VR gaming, do you have any recommendations as far as encouraging them to find a community they like and get involved, not only play the game, but be actively involved with the communities and any types of tournaments or anything that might come up?
That's an interesting question. I don't think I have any recommendations. I can just say like the fact that the community is small, yeah, it's, as I mentioned before, it's not perfect because it takes longer to find matches or something. But on the other hand, since there's not that many players, it really makes the community bond together. As you said, we play against the same teams over and over in Onward, for example, and so we know those guys, we know their play styles, oh, we're playing against these guys. I know one of them is going to be right here, another's going to be right here. So the VR community in this is really great.
That's wonderful. Well, congratulations on your win today. I hope that you will continue to enjoy Cradle of Sins as they continue developing it. And hopefully we will see some other tournaments. Since your team won today, now you're the reigning champion. So in the next tournament, you guys will have to defend your title. So we'll see we'll see how that goes. That generally brings competitive people out of the woodwork to